Aloha kako, ohana, friends, acquaintance. Aloha Board of Land and Natural Resources. My name is Cindy Freitas. I hold Mauna Kea dear to me as well as everyone else. The university does not have funding dedicated to conservation management. Even if the management were considered the purpose of the conservation district, the record does not support the applicant's assertion. The TMT project would be appropriately managed. The university is not a land managed agency, and the university comprehension plan does not provide the management necessary to prevent substantial harm from the TMT proposal. For over 40 years, a substantial harm in telescope activities have already inflicted on the natural and cultural resources of Mauna Kea. The UHCMP plan is the ultimate example of the unfund mandated issue to the entity without experience or expertise and with no trigger or benchmarks to ensure compliances. The applicant is mischaracterizing the substantial adverse impact that the construction will have on Mauna Kea. During the construction and decommissioning of the proposed project, there will be a temporary adverse impact due to noise, traffic, dust, visual intrusion, and increase in human presence on the mountain. Possibly adverse impact during construction and decommission also include potential disturbance beyond the project limits. Applicant witness Hayes admitted that 3 different deconstruction and new construction will have impact. Typically, construction and demolitions are considered temporary impact, and the most of the impact evaluated in the EIS are more of a long-term impact, which is in Hayes' transcript. The applicant has not considered the sacred nature of the pristine water in the Wauakua. Native Hawaiian practitioners who collect water for ceremony, medicine, and prayer have a right to collect water that they are confident is clean and pure. The applicant freely admits that runoff from the construction, parking, and building would run down slopes until it percolates into the substream. The applicant freely admits that they cannot say where the high-level groundwater is stored or where it will overflow into the seeps and spring. The BLNR's mission statement and fiduciary duties. From a plain reading of the relevant statutory and regulatory provision, it is clear that the conservation district are established specifically for the purpose of the conservation, protecting, and preserving the importance of the natural resources. State HRS 183C-1 and HAR 13-5-1. Statute and regulation provides that this purpose shall be met through appropriate management to promote the natural resources, long-term sustainability, and the public health, safety, and welfare. HAR 13-5N1 and HRS 2052 This is to say, conservation, not management, is the purpose of the conservation district. To conclude anything else would be misinterpretation of the law. Hawaii Land Use Law, Chapter 205, the conservation district is defined to include areas necessary to protect watersheds, water sources, preserving scenic and historic areas, wildlife, conserving indigenous or endemic plants, fish, wildlife, including those which are threatened or endangered, open space areas whose existing openness, natural condition, or present state of use, if rendered, would enhance the presence or potential value of the surrounding communities or would maintain or enhance the conservation of natural or scenic resources. The law provides for distinct districts such as urban, agriculture, and conservation. Because this land's area are characteristics suited to each district designation, the activities allowed in each district are consistent with characteristics of the land area. Conservation districts are designated to provide the public use and purpose, protecting watershed zone, conservation, open space, protecting of endangered, indigenous, endemic species, protecting the historic resources. HRS 205-2. Of approximately 525 acres described in the 2000 master plan, approximately 92 acres are currently disturbed. Sitting areas for telescope were designed compressing 150 acres of land within the astronomy precinct. Only setting areas A, B, and C are already developed with observatories. All the instruments proposed in the previous plan are constructed, and the limits of this observatory sits defined, areas A, B, and C. However, areas D, E, and F are not developed, nor infrastructure such as electrical, groundwork in place in these areas. While there has been some historical and more recent disturbance for roads and site testing, Area E, where the TMT proposed, remains free of visual impact, and the alpine stone desert ecosystem remain intact today. Culture and recreational use and access remain unimpeded. The applicant claims that witness Roser has a lifetime of experience with heavy machinery and impact of harsh conditions on lubricated manufacture, and testify regarding her concerns about runoff from the construction equipment and parking vehicles. Could not rebut the testimony of Mr. Nance. However, Nance could provide no data to substantiate his testimony. The summary of TMT mitigation measures says that the project will use storm water dry wells and grading to maximize groundwater recharge. Mr. Nance stated that the runoff would percolate downward, but he didn't know if it would be confined. Runoff would move through the unsaturated lava vertically downwards to underlying groundwater. Mr. Nance stated that we don't know the disturbance because we don't know exactly where the groundwater is. Applicant claims locating the TMT project in Area E does not result in the impacts being less than significant. Upon historic properties, cultural resources, and customary and traditional cultural practices, as well as on view planes, species, habitat, and existing facilities, in additional location, the TMT project access road does not avoid impact to Kukaha'ula. It would place a roadway on the slopes of the traditional cultural properties. The university conceded that the past construction of observatory had cumulative impacts on the culture, the archaeological and historic resources that are substantial, significant, and adverse. The TMT-FEIS also affirms that from a cumulative perspective, the impact of the past and present actions on cultural, archaeological, and historic resource is substantial, significant, and adverse. The impact would continue to be substantial, significant, and adverse with the consideration of the project. I object to the CDUA. I hope you find into your heart all the testimony was given today, all the open oral argument that was given today, and I also request for a stay. I motion, third motion. Cindy Freitas hereby formally requests that the tribunal, if it is inclined to approve the subject CDUA and issue the CDUP, and indeed does approve the issue, that Freitas hereby for a stay of execution pending appeal of this matter. Thank you. Hi, Cindy Freitas. The additional offers of many of the educational service and workforce development are completely irrelevant to the BLNR consideration of whether this CDUA complies with the 8 requirement for a permit, no matter how many jobs or classes the applicant promised to provide in exchange for permission to build the construct district. The BLNR cannot base its decision on such factor. They are outside the confines of the 8 criteria for a permit. And there were no analysis on how building the TMT in the Northern Plateau, which sits in the context of the Ring of Shrines, would impact the sacred area. The proposed TMT will drastically alter the surrounding and environment and cause visual and alignment obstruction for the many cultural and religious sites. There are 263 historic properties, most of them shrines and burial sites, which is located within the Summit region and the historic district. Council for TMT LLC had mentioned the rent, the $300,000 for the rent that they're paying on the sublease. We were confined not to talk about the sublease in the contested case hearing. That was one of the issues that we could not talk about. So I am not, I don't have that much education or part of that was taken up in the contested case hearing. So I moved to strike anything to do with the sublease. Thank you.